Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're ascending into a landscape that looks like it was borrowed from a myth,
It really does.
but its history is profoundly real. We are, of course, talking about Graham and the magnificent region of Cappadocia.
And for anyone who shared sources with us, you'll know that name, Cappadocia, literally means land of beautiful horses.
That's amazing.
It's a place where this stunning, almost alien geography meets, 7,000 years of relentless human ingenuity?
And the images we all know, the hot air balloons floating over those surreal, towering rock formations, that's really just the surface layer, isn't it?
It is. Once you dig into the material, you realize this is one of the world's most complex, mixed UNESCO World Heritage sites.
Mixed meaning.
It's balancing this immense natural value and its cultural value side by side at all times.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We want to unpack, three distinct layers of this history for you.
Exactly. We'll move from the deep geological story to the profound religious history carved right into the stone.
And then bring it right up to today, to the really surprising and critical administrative shifts that are happening right now in 2024.
Right. We want you to walk away understanding the geology, the history, and the massive conservation and tourism challenges they're facing.
Okay, so before we get completely distracted by the balloons, I want to ground us in the human timeline.
Good idea.
Graham has been settled continuously since the Chalcolithic period. We're talking the 5th to 4th millennium BC.
Just think about that. Long before it was a travel destination, you had civilizations like the Hittites, the Persians, all shaping the culture here.
But what's really fascinating is how the turmoil of the Roman Empire actually accelerated the cultural boom that defines Graham.
Yes, it wasn't stability that created these rock-cut churches, it was pressure.
That's the real pivot point. You're talking about the arrival of the early Christians. How did persecution literally become the foundation of their sanctuary?
Well, starting around the 3rd and 4th centuries, Christians were looking for refuge from Roman suppression.
A safe haven.
And they quickly realized the region's soft volcanic rock, it's called tuff, was just ideal for carving out secure, hidden cave churches and entire monastery complexes.
So the geology enabled their survival.
It absolutely did. And that transformed Graham into this vital, protected religious center that really flourished during the Middle Byzantine period between the 7th and 13th centuries.
And that status, as a sanctuary, eventually gave way to global recognition, but much, much later.
Much later. The key steps toward protection really happened in the mid-1980s.
Okay.
So Turkey declared it a national park in 1986, but it got the UNESCO World Heritage listing a year earlier, in 85.
And the official title is Graham National Park and the Rock Sites of Cappadocia.
That's the one.
It's important to note, too, that the UNESCO inclusion is massive, right? It's not just the little Graham open-air museum area.
Oh, it's an enormous swath of land and history. It's all protected under one umbrella. The designation covers these other crucial sites like the incredible multi-level underground cities.
Derinkuyu and Kamkala.
Exactly. And even the more distant Sozanli archaeological area, it shows the whole region was interconnected and important.
And that long, long history was only possible because of the ground right under their feet.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the landscape itself, these fairy chimneys. How were they even born?
The whole story starts with volcanoes. You have to go back about 8 to 10 million years ago.
Wow.
During the Neogene period, you had these massive eruptions from volcanoes like Urses, Hassan, Guluda.
And Melendez.
Right, they just blanketed the whole area with thick layers of ash and lava, which then hardened into that soft, carvable rock we've been talking about. The tuff.
The forces at work are just staggering. Millions of years of volcanic activity creating the rock, then millions of years of wind and water patiently eroding it.
And that patient erosion is what created the signature shape. Rain and wind carved away the soft tuff, but the key is the cap rock.
The protective layer on top.
Exactly. In a lot of places, a layer of harder, denser basalt protected the column of tuff right underneath it. So the rock around the base eroded, but the basalt cap acted like a little hat.
Protecting what was underneath and creating those tall conical formations. The peribacillari.
The fairy chimneys, yeah.
And these formations, they're not uniform. They create this whole range of valleys, each with its own character.
They absolutely do. Take Ashgadisi, Love Valley.
Right.
It's famous for its really long conical chimneys, and the hot air balloon operators specifically seek it out for the most spectacular sunrise views.
Then you've got the more functional one, Giverchin Lake Vidisi. Pigeon Valley.
Yeah, it's easy to romanticize the hundreds of carved nests, the Lickler, but this was basically a pre-industrial fertilizer factory.
A perfect symbol of that ancient ingenuity.
It really is. Farmers engineered these nests to harvest pigeon droppings for fertilizer in their vineyards.
And then there's Zemi Vidisi, which is totally different.
Totally different. It's much greener, more vegetation, with these natural hiking trails through narrow canyon-like passages, a whole other microclimate.
And we should mention the stability that the rock offered. These valleys are high up, over 1,000 meters.
But the carved interiors provided this naturally stable temperature. It was the original sustainable home. Cool in the summer, warm in the winter.
Perfect.
That stability and carvability meant they didn't just build homes, they built entire living systems.
Which brings us right back to the cultural treasures inside the stone. I mean, the density of religious structures is just astonishing.
It is. You're talking hundreds of rock-cut churches, chapels, refectories, kitchens, wine cellars.
All built by hermits and religious communities.
Right, and this is where the Byzantine art gallery comes alive. We're not just talking about simple shelters. Inside, you find these extraordinary frescoes.
Dating primarily to the Middle Byzantine period, right?
Sure.
After the whole iconoclasm debate was over.
It's exactly 10th through 12th centuries. And they feature these incredibly detailed biblical narratives, the crucifixion, the nativity in really rich, lasting colors.
The sources highlight one in particular, the Dark Church, the Karanlik Kilis.
The name says it all, doesn't it?
It does.
It received very little natural light, and that minimal exposure is what helped maintain the incredible intensity of the fresco colors over centuries.
Still, it needed a huge restoration project back in the 80s.
A decade-long project. It just underscores how crucial and delicate conservation work is for these unique pieces of art.
And the ingenuity didn't stop at monasteries. The scale of the subterranean architecture it's mind-boggling.
You mean the underground cities like Derinkuyu and Kaimaklan?
Yes.
They are multi-story metropolises, sometimes going down 8 or 10 levels deep into the tuff.
And these were for temporary shelter.
Temporary, secure shelters during periods of extreme threat, like raids from Persians and Arabs. But they were fully self-sufficient. Ventilation shafts going hundreds of feet deep. Churches, storage, even these enormous rolling stone doors for defense.
Okay, so we've established the value here. Millions of years of geology, thousands of years of settlement, priceless religious art. But 4 million tourists a year.
Right. Preservation and profit are fundamentally at war.
Let's get into how the administrative structure is trying to manage that conflict.
It's a huge challenge. Originally, Graham was protected under a national parks law from 1986, but the jurisdiction was fragmented.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
You had the Ministry of Forest, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Environment. It created decades of bureaucratic conflicts.
Which led to the big move in 2019. This is where the core insight about modern management is.
It is. The key insight is that the solution wasn't more regulation, but less. It was about centralizing power to cut through all that conflict.
So the national park status was removed by presidential decree.
And in its place, the Cappadocia Regional Presidency, the Cappadocia Alan Başkanlığı, was established.
The idea being to streamline authority.
Exactly. To prevent jurisdiction conflicts and ensure a more holistic, effective protection across all the districts and towns in the UNESCO area, it was a structural choice to make conservation faster.
But the challenge is immense. With 4 million visitors a year, is it actually working, or are they just constantly playing catch-up?
It's an ongoing struggle, for sure. It's important to stress, though, that even with the national park status gone, Gurme is still firmly under strict UNESCO World Heritage status.
And that carries international weight.
A lot of it. And it's built on a complex foundation, meeting 4 specific UNESCO criteria.
Right, related to both its natural formation and its human genius.
It's recognized as a masterpiece of creative genius, the rock-cut architecture. It represents a unique cultural tradition, and of course it has areas of superlative natural beauty. That combination requires continuous protection.
So let's look at the engine that funds all this conservation, but also creates the pressure.
The economic transformation of Gurme is striking. It went from a rural agricultural community in the 70s to a global tourism capital by the 2000s.
And the icon that drove that change, of course, is the hot air balloon.
It's not just a beautiful sight. It is a critical economic engine. On a good weather day, over 100 balloons can launch at the same time, creating that unforgettable global image.
And the visitor stats just illustrate the scale of it all. Pre-pandemic, the peak was 2019, with 3.8 million visitors.
And while the pandemic caused a sharp drop down to about 1 million in 2020, The rebound was immediate and massive,
It hit a record high of 4.2 million in 2022.
surpassing the 2019 peak. So today, Cappadocia is consistently drawing around 4 million tourists a year,
And a huge majority, 80%, are foreign visitors.
which creates this clear socioeconomic duality. On one hand, you have increased local wealth guides, boutique cave hotels, artisan co-ops.
But on the other, that influx puts intense pressure on infrastructure traffic, water, and dries up the cost of living for residents.
And harmonizing those two realities is the core job of this new presidency.
Which brings us right to 2024 and how this new management is tackling sustainability physically, culturally, and digitally.
The most urgent physical project is the geological restoration. In 2024, they started a systematic program to strengthen critically cracked and collapsing fairy chimneys.
So they're stabilizing the natural rock formations, not just the human structures.
And it's noted as the first systematic program of its kind in Turkey for natural formations. They're also doing cultural conservation outside Gurun proper, in places like Sosanlı Valley.
And to manage the sheer volume of people, they're going digital.
Exactly, to combat wear and tear. We're seeing pilot programs with augmented reality, AR-supported guides, and digital kiosks at the Open Air Museum.
The goal being to improve the experience while reducing the physical intrusion and overcrowding.
Right, the things that directly cause damage in sensitive sites like the Dark Church.
And the other big focus for 2024 is traffic.
Absolutely. They've introduced a new electric minibus ring service to try and reduce congestion and the carbon footprint.
But the biggest debate is still ongoing.
It is. Implementing dynamic visitor quotas and carrying capacity analysis. That's the ultimate check on mass tourism, trying to balance economic necessity with geological and cultural survival.
What an incredible journey. We've gone from volcanic eruptions 8 million years ago to an early Christian refuge to a global icon hosting 4 million people a year.
All while the modern caretakers are attempting this incredibly complex balancing act of preservation.
Yeah.
You know, what's fascinating here is that continuous history of adaptation. Centuries ago, people carved homes in soft rock to defend against political or environmental pressure.
And now,
Today, the modern effort involves strengthening those same ancient rocks and digitally guiding visitors through those very same spaces to ensure they survive the pressure of global adoration.
that brings up a great final thought for you to mull over. If the landscape was created by millions of years of erosion and humans have lived there for thousands, what is the most fragile element of Gurun today?
Is it the volcanic rock itself?
Or is it the human structures carved within it?
A question that connects history, geology, and modern management all in one thought.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Cappadocia. We encourage you to explore this dynamic intersection of nature, history, and modern management further. We'll talk to you next time.